Meta Platform had a leaked report that says that it is planning to cut 15% of the workforce, or about 12,000 employees. That is a very huge number, and it is going to be the first time since 2004, 18 years ago, that Meta is going to see an overall reduction in its employee count in this year. And what is happening to Meta Platform, and why is the share price underperforming, and why is it that this company is performing worse than a lot of other big tech like Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft? Why Meta is in such a bad shape? Let's go through in this video. So before we carry on to explain the reasons why, let's take a look at how bad the performance have been. The big tech companies, they used to be $1 trillion market capitalization. So there are still a few big tech like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet, which are still retaining its $1 trillion status. Meta Platforms as well as Tesla has dropped below $1 trillion. In fact, Meta has been the worst. It's now down to about $358 billion in terms of its market cap. It's almost like half of what Tesla is, and Tesla is not even in a $1 trillion club anymore. So you can see that the fall from grace has been a very hard one for Meta. And if we compare just this year's performance, likewise, you can see that Meta has dropped 61%. The rest of the big tech like Apple to Amazon has dropped 33% or less, right? So Meta has dropped about double than the other big tech, most of the big tech in this year alone. So the trouble doesn't seem trivial at all. And even if we compare to Bitcoin, the mother of all cryptocurrency, it's down 57%, and Meta is down 61% for the same period of time. And people are talking about crypto winter and how speculative crypto is, and yet here we have a big tech company, Meta, even look more speculative than Bitcoin itself. So another point to make is that Meta at this level at 133.45 share price is lower than its COVID low of 149.73. So even if someone have managed to pick at the lowest price during COVID for these Meta shares, you'll be sitting on a loss today. So this is really very terrible performance. If you, no matter how you slice and dice, which angle you look at it, Meta is looking into like having a big trouble that is experiencing right now. And some of the problems are well known, right? So the very first problem that Meta is facing is the Apple iPhone privacy option, where now users are prompted whether they allow certain apps to track them across every other apps that they are using. So that really caused the ad tracking for Facebook to be limited to a very large extent, because how Facebook make money is that they sell targeted ads to advertisers. So advertisers like to spend on Facebook because they are able to get good return out of this investment, because they can track users very effectively. But with this limitation, that means that the tracking function has lost its power, and advertisers will find it's harder to get my customers, it's harder to get a good ROI of my advertising dollars, definitely not as good as before. So that would prompt advertisers to slow down their ad spend on Facebook, and they may be looking for alternatives, right? And this is not resolved yet, even at this point in time. And Facebook or Meta estimated that it will cost $10 billion worth of revenue this year, right? So that is significant. And the second thing is, of course, the rise of other social media platforms, and in particular is TikTok. It has been a phenomenon rise over the past few years. And even though we look at this chart, Facebook is still the most popular social media platform on earth at the moment, and it has other sister apps like WhatsApp, Instagram, which is among the top 5, right? So that is the saving grace of Meta family of apps. But you can see that the TikTok has also crossed 1 billion users and rising fast. So there is a potential where it will eventually overtake Instagram and possibly overtake Facebook given enough time, right? So that is a threat that Facebook is facing at this point in time. And if we look at the monthly active users, right? So Facebook also had a bad news in the last quarter. They reported that there was a slight dip in the monthly active users, right? So this is also the very first time that Facebook has seen a dip. So the competition is real. Okay, so Facebook already got like half of the world's population. How many more people can you capture, right? The other half may not have access to internet, may not have access to smartphone, less to say using Facebook alone. So it is at a saturation point, right? It's harder to grow because it already captured majority of the people on earth, and yet there are new platforms coming up to steal some of these market shares, steal some of these engagement hours away from Facebook. And if we look at the time span, right, TikTok has been phenomenal compared to Facebook. Average now 2021, right? Facebook time span was about 16 hours per month, and then for TikTok has shot to 25.7 hours, right? So that is also another sign that users find it more engaging to use TikTok and as compared to Facebook or even Instagram. WhatsApp is more like a messaging function, right? So you can see that even when we combine Instagram and Facebook together, it's still less engagement hours than TikTok. So that is a very key issues that Facebook is trying to resolve, and that's why you see Reels on Instagram, you see Reels on Facebook. They're trying to tackle the short video segment. Of course, it's not just a Meta problem, and we see YouTube having the same issues, and we start to see a lot more platforms trying to copy TikTok with the short video functions as well. And the thing about social media is we will realize that the moat or the competitive advantage is not as strong as probably some other business. For example, Google search has been really very dominant. It's very hard to replicate a good search engine as opposed to a social media platform, perhaps, right? Because we do see that there are more social media competitors that are credible, that can challenge Facebook or Meta's other family of apps position, right? So I did a little bit of these things, and I realized that the social media tends to be generational. That means if you are able to capture one generation, it doesn't mean that you can capture the next generation of users. It's not transferable in that sense. And if we take just a cursory look, right, I would say that boomer generation are probably using YouTube a lot more. Gen X is where the Facebook generation is, and Gen Y is Instagram, and Gen Z is TikTok, and then the school children, I would say, is Roblox, Minecraft, right? It's really more of the metaverse kind of things. And then preschool goes back to YouTube, where they watch a lot of cartoons on it. So you will realize that social media doesn't really capture many generation, right? Facebook have done well because they managed to acquire Instagram that gave them the younger generation, right? So all is good. But then after that, TikTok came about, all this, the acquisition strategy doesn't work that well anymore, and they started to have to copy, and they started to have to do a lot more, and or even to pivot beyond that Gen Z and go after even the younger ones, right? So that is the competitive landscape of social media. It is really heating up a lot, and Facebook and Instagram aren't able to capture the younger crowd as well as the newer platforms. So that prompted Mark Zuckerberg to go into the Metaverse, which is also not a new news anymore. He has been talking about it, trying to share a lot more things and developments about the Metaverse. And he was also saying that it will cost a lot of money, significant amounts of money to be lost in the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, so it's prompting investors that, okay, this is going to happen, please don't get surprised. But of course, investors doesn't like to hear that. They want to hear that, okay, current business is still strong, is raking in good money, and yes, you want to pursue new things by all means, but don't sacrifice the profits of the company. Okay, so that is what probably kept the investors away. And recently, Mark Zuckerberg also took a selfie of himself in the Metaverse, and it became a laughing stock on the internet, because a lot of people were saying that you call that graphics in this day and era. This looked like something that you take in 1990s, right? Not really befitting of the 2020s. So they got a lot of people drawing flag on the internet, and eventually he came up with a recovery and said that, oh, the new screenshot, and said that, you see, it's actually a lot more advanced in terms of the graphics. This was just a very quick one that I took. So whatever it is, definitely it didn't look good, and a lot of people are just really bashing on this metaverse dream. A lot of people don't believe that Mark Zuckerberg is going to pivot well into this space. And this is another report that says that even internally within Meta itself, people are not really using the metaverse, right? I would say that maybe it's really too early, okay? Even myself, I'm not really into it, but I do have considered getting an Oculus and explore the virtual reality world, right? I've tried it before. Actually, it's quite fun, I would say. It's quite refreshing kind of experience, right? But I don't think it's mainstream or going to be mainstream anytime soon. Okay, so it will take a lot of resistance on that. But the school children, right? The schoolgoers, okay, they are actually playing Roblox and Minecraft, which is itself, we can say that is the closest thing to the metaverse, right? So they are very used to this new social media platform. So it could be a case where Zuckerberg is not trying to target the older generation. They already capture it, right? What under Facebook, under Instagram, they got Gen X and Gen Y. So they're going after the schoolgoers, right? When in time, give them another 5 to 10 years, they will be there and they probably will expect this metaverse, and they are probably the native of this environment because they've been playing Roblox and Minecraft since they are young. So that could be one possibility. And if we look at the financial statements, let me just blow this up a little bit for you. Right, this is their first 6 months of 2022 financial statements. You can see that the revenue didn't grow that much, right? It's very marginal, and it could be due to the competition and due to the slowing economy, right? Because the ad spend has also lowered due to the slowing businesses going around. Right, not just a Meta problem. We can see it in all the other companies as well, especially the tech companies. And you can see elevated cost in terms of research and development and general administrative expenses. They have gone up more than 40%, right? So this is probably where the metaverse investment comes in, right? Whether is it R&D, throwing more money into the software, or is it general administrative, where they hire more engineers, talented people, they pay higher dollars to expand the team to grow. Okay, so that has also resulted in the earnings dropping by about 25% as compared to a year ago. So you can see that that is really something consequential in their income statement, right? It really translates to an impact to the numbers. So all in all, in summary, it is like a perfect storm for Meta. Okay, so let me blow this up again for you. So on one hand, we talk about, yes, Apple privacy option limits Meta's tracking, and it hasn't been resolved yet. Then the new competitor TikTok is coming in and stealing market share and capturing the Gen Z crowd, right? Very, very popular. It seems like it's very hard for Meta to steal that Gen Z crowd away anytime soon. And we also talk about Meta spending billions of dollars, right, into this metaverse, which have a high degree of uncertainty, okay? And coupled with the economic macro slowdown, and that also affect advertising because the ad spend reduces due to lower consumption, lower demand, so they don't want to push so much. They spend less on Meta as well, right? So that will also cause the current business to slow down as well. Okay, so you can see that Meta at all fronts are having a lot of problems. There's very little good news to talk about. In fact, I don't think there's any. Okay, so that is what is probably weighing down the share price and its performance. Okay, so but my view is this, right? I think that it is true if we look at Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, there's just so much innovation you can do on them. Okay, in fact, the users don't want any big changes to the platforms. Okay, like for example, when they copy the reels in Instagram, a lot of the influencer were like condemning it and wanted the original Instagram. So and Meta actually reversed that. Okay, so there is just so much you can build on top of the current existing system, right? But they have already been proven to capture the Gen X, the Gen Y users, so they should just stick to it, right? At least they get 2 generations, and they still can build from this. Advertising dollars will still come in, right? It's not like this 2 generations is going to go away anytime soon. So they should just reap as much profit, right? Maybe that will serve as the baseline revenue. Okay, very little growth, but at least you capture that 2 generation. And WhatsApp is a productivity tool, okay? Not so much of advertising things. Yes, maybe they can squeeze some advertising dollars out of it, business account or whatever. But I also think that there is a limit to how much they can squeeze. So, which turns out to that they need to look for something else. Okay, so the transition to this metaverse is like a no choice things. If they just stick to where they are just going to stagnate. okay? And you can't get Gen Z. It's already captured by TikTok, for example. And it's not like TikTok is going to sell to Meta. Their acquisition strategy no longer work anymore, right? In the past, they could buy Instagram, could buy WhatsApp, it worked well for them. But now you want to buy TikTok, probably difficult, right? Because they have also grown quite well in terms of their revenue, right? They are quite a big monster today already, and it will cost too much for Meta to acquire them. Okay, so they end up copying them in the meantime. But the real breakthrough will come if they manage to move ahead than other social media platform into the metaverse. Okay, so you realize that actually this strategic move is more like a no choice thing. Okay, because the current suite of business is no longer as solid as before, and it's pretty saturated already. So they have to look for something new, right? So I think this is a no choice. And ultimately, if you want to invest in Meta, or you are still holding on to Meta, you are actually placing a bet on Mark Zuckerberg, okay, the founder. And founder does bring a different element to the business, right? It's not just for the money, but for that sentimental reason, for the passion of that baby that have really built up from scratch to something that is respectable today of a certain size. It is something that the founder would not just want to waste it, right? So they bring in that another element, and you can say vision, execution, whatever. Mark Zuckerberg does have some proven work, right, with Facebook, with some of these things that propel it to become one of the big tech and one of the richest men on earth. Okay, so he does have some capability. If you really want to buy Meta, you are really betting on him, because this metaverse thing is really so uncertain at this point in time. You just have to trust his vision and his execution. Okay, if you don't, then you should not have any business with Meta, because I do think that the current business is pretty saturated already, right? It become more like a stable company. Okay, you still make good profits probably, right? But more of they need to pivot away in order to find growth, and you have to bet on him, because the metaverse idea is still in a very nascent stage. So it's akin to like the other big tech company, which is Tesla, where it's held by Elon Musk. Okay, so you still inject a lot of that dynamism into the company for that innovative drive, right? So if you look at the other big tech, they are now not run by their founders anymore. Jeff Bezos have left Amazon, right? The Alphabet founders have taken a back seat now, and Apple, Steve Jobs no longer around, and Bill Gates no longer running Microsoft as well. So end up you only have two big tech that are still driven by the founders. So essentially, I think that a lot of this investment evaluation on these innovative breakthroughs have to come from the founders themselves. Okay, so if you are holding or investing in Meta, is essentially a bet on Mark Zuckerberg. And I know that he's not the most likable founders out there, not the most likable billionaire out there, right? So this can be a very very opposing kind of trade, right? So some people will love it, some people will hate it a lot. Okay, so I leave that to you, right? So I given you that analysis, I given you the identification of the problems and why they have to move to metaverse, and hopefully now you're in a better, clearer position to make a decision. Okay, so hopefully you like the video. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and I'll give you more stock analysis. Right, this is Alvin. Goodbye.